Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Welcome. My name is Michael Brophy, and I have the honor and privilege of serving as the 11th president of Benedict University. And it's my great honor today to introduce Sister Judith Ann Heble. If you're lucky, very lucky today, you're going to hear some analogies and homespun stories about Western Kansas, right? If you're lucky. And I find it at our work at the board level with Sister Chairs, our committee for mission. She always finds a way to put chickens in, or pigs, or cows, or something. But we all love it. In 1961, Sister Judith Ann made her first monastic profession and immediately began her teaching career in elementary Catholic schools. She taught in various Catholic schools, staffed by the sisters for 11 years, followed by 11 years as director of religious education at St. Joan of Arc in Lisle. She earned a bachelor's degree from the College of St. Francis in Joliet, a master's degree in School of Admin from Loyola in Chicago, and a master's degree in theological studies with an emphasis in scripture from Catholic Theological Union in Chicago. Sister Judith Ann was elected prioress, and in January of 1993 was installed as the 7th prioress of Sacred Heart Monastery in Lisle, a position she held for 18 years. In 1997, along with being prioress, she was elected president of the Conference of Benedictine Prioresses for the USA, Canada, Bahamas, Puerto Rico, and Mexico. This position, which she held for 12 years, made her a delegate to an international commission of nuns and sisters. In 2006, she was elected to be the moderator of the CIB, Communio Internationalis Benedictarum, a position she will hold through 2018. CIB promotes mutual support and exchange of ideas among Benedictine women on an international level and the development of monasticism for women. As a moderator, president of the CIB, she is also a member of the AIM International Board and has traveled for many opportunities across the world. For the past 20 years, Sister Judith Ann has been a trustee at Benedictine University in Lisle. She is my boss, right, Sister? She currently serves as the chairperson of the Mission Integration Committee of the board. In addition, Sister Judith is a member of the St. Benedict Education Foundation Board since 2009, a board that provides assistance to Sant'Anselmo, a Benedictine University in Rome. Again, it's a great honor to introduce, and it'll be a great pleasure for you, I'm sure, to hear from Sister Judith Ann Heble.
Thank you, Michael. Good morning, everyone. It gives me great pleasure to be here with you to share with you my favorite topic. I have many favorite topics. I can talk about many things. First of all, how many of you heard my presentation 11 years ago at the first pedagogy conference held in Lisle? Very good. You don't have to leave, but you can help me out if I have omitted anything. Okay. There are also some people here from Benedictine University who have heard this before, and they can help me out as well, saying, "Sister, you forgot." I will be okay with that. How many of you are religious sponsors of a college or university? Okay. How many of you are trustees? How many of you are presidents? I'm glad you raised your hand. Deans? Faculty? Staff? Other? Okay, and a few monastic friends. The majority here are faculty. That's great. Hopefully, all of you will see the implications in what I share for your role as a leader in your university. It's not just the president who is the leader. Each one of you have a leadership role in your university. How many of you have a mission statement? a vision statement. How many of these statements have been brought up to date in the last 1 or 2 years? Not very many. Take a look at them again. How many of you utilize the 10 Hallmarks as the pervading values in your college or university? Everybody's hand should be up, or both hands. Today, I would like to share some ideas on charism as the inspiration for your mission, vision, and values. From Wikipedia, we learn that charism comes from the Greek word charismata, or the plural is charismata, the Greek word charis, meaning grace. It's the divine influence on a receiver's heart and its reflection in his or her life. It is a power, generally of a spiritual nature, although sometimes we say about a business person, he or she is charismatic. This is not the same kind of charismatic we're talking about. It's believed to be a freely given gift by the grace of God, a gift of the Spirit. Sunday, we are going to celebrate Pentecost. It would be a wonderful time to pray fervently for the Benedictine charism, for that gift of the Spirit. In the study of church matters, a charism refers to a particular grace granted by God to religious founders and their institutions, which distinguishes them from other organizations within the same church, so that you can have a charism that is Benedictine or Franciscan, Dominican, Charity, Mercy, etc., all in the same church. It enriches the church, the variety of gifts. Charism is a gift of the Spirit that provides the inspiration for your mission, vision, and values. Any charism that is genuine is a pure gift of God. And it is an expression of the Spirit's gift for use and witness in the larger church, but not just for the church, for the world. Charism attracts people to engage in an overall task together. Charism can be recognized as a lived and a living reality. It is a seed planted in fertile ground that takes root, grows and multiplies, and eventually bears fruit. A charism can be transplanted to other climates, cultures, and eras. It can transcend what we do at a particular juncture in history. It can transcend ethnic differences, social and economic classes, and several generations at a given time. This gift, a charism, has the potential to transform people no matter who or where they are. In Evangelica Testificatio, Pope Paul VI said back in 1971 that a charism provides a constancy of orientation while allowing for growth and change. Constancy of orientation. Recently, Pope Francis met with the Union of Superiors General of Religious Men at their General Assembly in Rome. He called them to wake up the world by being witnesses of a different way of doing things, of acting and living, a countercultural way of life that relies on generosity and self-forgetfulness. When Pope Francis urged religious to wake up the world, he added something. He said, "This radicalness is not only for religious. It is demanded of everyone." He said that our charism Our charisms are not bottles of distilled water. They are more like juice in ferment, probably wine. We must now take another look at them, he says, and see that they are activated by the yeast of an apostolic spirit. Charisms do not exist or cannot exist merely for their own sake or merely for the sake of those who embrace them. Rather, they exist for the mission of the church to the world. They don't exist just for the church. They exist for the world and the extension of that charism over time. A charism is our patrimony to and for the church, to and for the world. Charisms live only in people, not in documents. They are gifts given to people. They captivate and transform the recipient. No amount of concerted effort can create a charism. You can't go home after this weekend and say, I'm going to create a charism. It is a pure gift of God. What is the charism we are speaking about today that should influence the mission, vision, and values of a college or university? Where did it come from? It didn't just drop out of the sky when mission and vision became a contemporary thing to be working on. Over 1,500 years ago, a charism was gifted by God to Saint Benedict. And over the centuries, that charism was likewise gifted to numerous founding Benedictine women and men as monasticism spread throughout Europe and was eventually brought to the United States in the latter half of the 19th century. As a Benedictine myself, I believe that the charism can be articulated as to seek God in community life according to the rule of Saint Benedict. Those three elements: to seek God, community life, rule of Saint Benedict. That same charism was gifted to the founding members of your sponsoring community. How many of you sponsoring communities, or how many of your sponsoring communities were founded over 100 years ago? Raise your hand, Michael. Many of you have a long history of embracing that charism. Those members of your founding community chose to share that charism with your college or university community and to have it permeate and influence every aspect of life in your institution, as well as to pervade the local area in which you are. That charism, to seek God in community, according to the rule of Saint Benedict, still exists in the lives of those monks and sisters who work at your university or college. More importantly, in those among you that allow that charism to penetrate the very life and learning of your college or university. It is in the air you breathe. It is in the water you drink. It is the brick and mortar that holds your buildings together. It is the very foundation upon which your college or university was built and upon which it continues to exist. And it is visible in the most ordinary and sometimes most extraordinary ways. To seek God in community, according to the charism, according to the rule of Saint Benedict, is the charism that should inspire your mission and vision. Does it? It is in community. It is together, not as isolated individuals. Saint Benedict tells us in chapter 72, it is together that we go into the heart of God. No amount of concerted effort can create a charism. Charisms are gifts to and for the church, but to and for the world. Charisms are the work of the Spirit in time, in a particular place, and in particular persons. Though charisms live only in people, not in documents, nevertheless, rules, constitutions, bylaws, mission and vision statements, articulation of core values, and any other fundamental documents you have are all important because they suggest that if you follow this way or this form of life, you will not be led astray because the charism that inspires it is of God. But documents can do no more than suggest the cumulative richness of the lived experience and self-understanding of the community that was initially gifted with the charism. Only people actually embody a charism. If all the documents were destroyed, but the members were still to survive, others would still be able to grasp the full import of the charism through those living members. The opposite. If all the members were to cease to exist, but the documents survived, could others be able to grasp the import of that charism? Or would they understand it only superficially? Would they be able to embody the charism? Or does the charism cease to exist? In a time of chaos and disharmony, the living witness of any genuine charism matters. It announces uniquely with specific and recognizable characteristics that to seek God according to the Benedictine tradition still has meaning. To say that your college or university has been inspired by a charism involves a conscious and radical decision. It involves a lifelong endeavor on the part of all of you to live according to that charism, to allow yourselves to be influenced by it, to permit yourselves to be formed and informed by it, for it, and because of it. The charism belongs to those who, here and now, allow the charism to color, nuance, and undergird all you do and are, your role in your college or university, and not just in your role, but in your very manner of being. The best expression of the Benedictine charism is that observed, discovered, and noticed and present in living persons, hopefully in you as a leader in your university or college. If there are less monastics on your campus, where does one look? The entire college or university needs to put down roots deep into the charism, deep into the earth of that charism. The best articulation of that Benedictine charism is found in this little book, and you might even have a bigger book, called The Rule of St. Benedict. Do you know it? Have you read it? Is it important to you in your ministry at your college or university? Is it important in your life? This little rule, St. Benedict calls it in chapter 73, calls it a little rule, gives us something to hang on to, something to lead us in a given direction, something to point to the road, something to articulate the charism, something to inspire your mission, vision, and values. This little rule gives us the essentials to what to seek God in community looks like. The 10 Hallmarks of Benedictine education, as formulated by this association, give you the 10 essential values found in the Rule of St. Benedict. Did you know that there are more than 10 in there? You might want to practice those too. The immersion of these values into your college or university's mission and vision is essential. More importantly, your immersion into them is a mark of your absorption of the charism, a sign to all that you are a particular Catholic and Benedictine university. Though St. Benedict says it's but a little rule for beginners, not meant to be harsh or burdensome, he says in the prologue. There are harsh and burdensome parts, but he says it's not meant to be that. These Benedictine values may demand a total change, certainly a total focus in the way you relate to life and in the way you function at your college or your university. This little rule shows you how to do that. The 10 hallmarks, excuse me, I need to get a little sip of something. The 10 hallmarks transcend time. These values are the filter through which to view the world. They provoke you to see life around you in fresh new ways. You cannot keep those values to yourself. You must take them off wherever you have them posted and share them with the world. I think it's St. Francis who said, "Preach the gospel at all times, and if necessary, use words." Well, I think it's true about these values too. Preach these values at all times, and if necessary, post them somewhere. That's my quote, not St. Francis. If these values are not shared, I believe they die. They belong to everyone. They are not private property. They must inspire new life in others, and it is your job to have them do that. I think that these 10 hallmarks, these Benedictine values, those 10 plus the others, are the mission with a small m within what you state as your mission with a capital M. These values summon you to be mindful and respond in a particular sort of way. They guide your work at your institution. You bring something different to the community, to your ministry at your institution because of these values. And what you bring is a Benedictine mindset. In agreeing to work at your college or university, you agree to accept the Benedictine charism. You agree to put on that Benedictine mindset and permit it to have an impact on all you do in your place and at this time. That charism colors and nuances your mission and vision. You cannot go out and buy a charism. It is a gift shared with you. The charism must captivate you and must permeate your very being. Are you open to it? And it doesn't happen because you sit here and say, yes, I want it to permeate my very being. You keep growing in it and growing in it and growing in it year after year after year, and you never quite have it all. Your mission and vision statements must have a clear and concise expression of the unique purpose for which your college or university exists. They express a commitment to a special distinctiveness. They set your college or your university apart from others like it, that it is Catholic and Benedictine. When you state your mission and vision the way you do, are you buying into the 10 hallmarks of Benedictine education, which give a common set of values, a common priority, a common meaning or purpose? A group must have a well-defined purpose. Len Sperry said back in 1990, if you don't know where you are going, you will probably end up somewhere else. Purpose gives you meaning, direction, and focus. It releases power and energy and passion and determination to reach a particular end. Everything you do needs an endpoint, something around which you rally, something around to which to focus your efforts. The book of Proverbs, chapter 29, verse 18 says, "Without vision, the people get out of hand." To what endpoint are you deeply committed? What will you make obvious efforts to achieve? Having a common vision and mission, focusing on those Benedictine values, means that everyone in your college or university knows what you're about, and that where and what you want to be in, let's say, 10 years. Also, everyone out there should know what you're about. They should know that from you, not from your words, from your very being, that you bring a particular value, a particular nuance, a particular Catholic and Benedictine coloring to who you are, to what you do, to why you do what you do. They should know that you are under the influence of that charism given 1,500 years ago to St. Benedict to seek God in community according to the rule of St. Benedict, and that it is very much alive today at your institution. Common values are the attraction factor. They are what make you effective, unique, distinctive, and purposeful. They give meaning to the existence of your institution, and they enlighten your mission and vision. These values have a prophetic character to them, for they are under the inspiration of a gift of the Spirit. They are in many ways countercultural because they are of God. They engage the surrounding culture at its deepest levels and respond to its most profound hungers. Pope Francis said that the charism is not a bottle of distilled water. He went on to say that it needs to be lived energetically, as well as reinterpreted culturally in a very effective way. The challenge before you is to bring these Benedictine values to bear on the issues of our world today. Do they? Last night, Abbot Elias raised some significant questions. You might want to ask yourself some questions. What is going on today that most needs Benedictine attention? That most needs the impact of Benedictine values? What is the great Benedictine need in your area, in our world, in the 21st century? What is it that must be promoted by you now, not 10 years from now? What is most related to the Benedictine charism? What's most translatable to your institution? What Benedictine value, concept, or idea needs to be brought to your situation? What Benedictine values can your college or university give to your campuses, to the world of Benedictine colleges and universities, to this association, to our society today? And what are the values that your college or university holds most dearly? What are the ones that are most important to you personally? They may be different from one college or university to the next. After all, each of you are unique and express the charism in a particular way. Any commitment to something is worth the commitment of your lives. Not just some of you, but all of you. It is important to evaluate regularly. Did we do it? Did we live it? Did we be it? Did I? Do we? Does commitment to these values cost money? Someone may be hired to give direct service to this purpose or mission. Someone may be appointed as the mission integration director, but that person is only one and can do only so much. It is the voluntary effort each one makes to internalize the mission, vision, and values that will have them impact everything that you do. It is each person that enables the focus to be possible, regardless of your role in your university or college. Each one of you must bring that special Benedictine mindset to everything that goes on there. This is what it means to have the Benedictine charism provide the inspiration for your mission and vision. The rest of life and education does not cease. It goes on day after day after day. But the values, the mission with the small m within your mission with the capital M becomes the focus and colors who you are, colors your activities, colors your college or university with that special rainbow of Benedictine values. So that everyone within your college and everyone out there, especially your students, will say, this college or university is that place where people are known for one or another of those Benedictine values. The corporate commitment to the mission, vision, and values gives focused purpose. You got to all be in it together. Gives identity. Bonds a community around a common goal. Gives the community a prophetic presence in your local area as well as in the society at large. Fortunately, you don't have to build another building for this corporate commitment. Corporate commitment to the mission, vision, and values is not found in a building. It's found in you. Your corporate commitment to the mission and vision and values will enable your institution to continue to develop and grow and even expand without losing that centerpiece of its life. Now listen carefully. Leadership, leadership must be the embodiment of the mission, vision, and values, expressing visibly that the charism is very much at the heart of life at your institution. The university president is ultimately responsible to the board that the mission of the institution is achieved and remains vibrant over time. And the Mission Integration Committee of the board is established to preserve and govern the religious purposes of the institution. This committee serves as the board's internal check and balance to make sure that the mission is being successfully passed on. I hold up this book by Dennis Holtschneider, the president of DePaul University, The Mission Committee. It's excellent, very easy reading, but it gives the purpose of that committee in your institution. Though it's the primary responsibility of the president, you are all leaders at your institution. And so what fits for that person, fits for the president, also fits for you. Your function is to subscribe to the mission, vision, and values, to identify them, to internalize them, to model them. You are to instill, empower, impel, and enable the mission to be present and visible at every level of your institution. You, as a leader, determine the relationship of everyone in that university or college, and you hold to those values, and you hold everyone accountable to living and instilling them. All of you, each of you, must buy into the mission, vision, and values. They will not kill you. In fact, they just might make you a better person to be around. For many years, And for some of you, over 100 years, your college or university has been influenced and inspired by that ancient charism, by that ancient rich patrimony to seek God in community according to the rule of St. Benedict. You must continue to be immersed in the rule of St. Benedict, to inculcate the history, the culture, and the values from which the rule emerges. The more you do, the more you will also grow in appreciation of the spirit and commitment and the story that brought the ministry to life in your locale. It is in this rule of St. Benedict that we get the essential definition and character to our institutions. It offers the enduring principles and attitudes far beyond whatever culture embodies them. Read it, study it, make it a part of your life. You can't just say, I've gone through the rule of St. Benedict. The question is, has the rule gone through you? Doesn't happen overnight, doesn't happen with one reading, doesn't happen in 1 year. Happens years and years and years of absorption. Once embraced, the principles and values of the rule will guide your way through whatever the psychological fad of the time, or religious practices, or social philosophies that offer comfort but very little staying power. No matter how far a group goes in its attempts to be relevant to the modern world, it needs to keep one foot in that ancient patrimony at all times, in that 1,500-year-old tradition at all times. And it is that that keeps pulling us back to the tried and true, to the really real, to someone beyond ourselves. And it is to these enduring principles that every age looks. In conclusion, this is your greatest challenge and your greatest opportunity to pass on the heart and soul of what it means to be Catholic and Benedictine. Take pride in the privilege of having been entrusted with carrying on that Benedictine charism, that rich patrimony that your founders entrusted to you to instill and promote at every level of your institution. Thank you.
Let's see what questions or feedback we have from our audience. Any questions or feedback for Sister?
Joel?
You mentioned the importance of regular evaluation of terrorism. And in doing that, let's say we find, not any institutions represented here, but some others possibly, faculty or staff that are deficient in witnessing the terrorism, and perhaps even don't think that's their responsibility. What does the leadership do?
I don't know, I'm not the leader. I think it would be up to the group. See, I think the group defines what values they're going to focus on for the coming year. You can't focus on all 10 at the same time. Let's say that it's going to be hospitality. And then you do your evaluation and you find that you're deficient in this area or that area or whatever. But I think it's the group that keeps calling the group to accountability. And I think the leadership provides the opportunity for the group to identify those things and for the group to evaluate whether or not that's happening.
This will really help with the people who are already hired and working in the university, but I think that's why it is so important when hiring to really focus on the mission and go somewhat deeply into it. Not the students probably read the role necessarily before they apply for a position, but to try to get a sense of how willing a new hire will be to commit to the mission, the values, the vision, and how to even embed it in his or her own life, to live it as they're working in the institution.
I want to follow up on that too, and press you a little bit more on this question. Because, so, somebody is deficient in this area, you approach them, you work with them, you try to get them to see the value in it, and they just refuse over a period of a year or so. Maybe they're not even hostile, but they're just indifferent to core values of the institution. What would you recommend leadership do?
I don't know. I would fire him, no. But I think it would make it very clear that they're not an asset.
Sister, could you take a moment to, maybe to these questions, just to walk through your role in leading the mission vision work with the university and what byproducts you've seen going forward?
At Benedict University?
Yeah, no, I was thinking the questions that you could probably share a lot more about your leadership and what flowed from that work.
I can tell you what we did at Benedictine University, maybe going back 2 years ago, when I became chair of the committee. And we also got a new president at the same time. So everything's brand new. And one of the things that we needed to do was put in place or update the mission and vision of the university. And so we spent probably a good 6 to 8 months, every week. And I was put on the committee, part of the steering committee, for the implementation of the process. But every level of the university went through a process to help identify that. Nobody was left out of it. Okay? And in the end, we had a consensus around what it should say. Subsequently, as part of that same thing, we also put together what we call commitment statements. You say you're a Catholic in Benedictine University. What does that mean? So there were certain things that we identified, and the 10 Hallmarks are one of them. The social teachings of the church are another. Some teachings of the bishops are in there as well. That when you flesh this out, this is what it really means. And then this past year, the mission integration chairperson, the president's assistant to the president, with the leadership of the president, instituted a hiring for mission policy so that all new employees have to be able to say, we will support the mission and vision of this university. They may or may not be Catholic. They certainly are not Benedictine, but they're willing to support that. It was an overwhelming response of applications for the university. Of the 1,100 or so applications, over 700 of them felt that they could support the mission and vision of the university. Some of those current faculty members were very opposed to putting in that kind of policy because there probably was one or another of the kind of person you're talking about. They were afraid that they'd all have to be baptized at the local pond in the morning, and that's not what it's about. It's about can we together have this come alive and stay alive at this university? Or I don't know, is that Christine?
I'm at the university too. My question is that I notice in a lot of faculty and staff, they commit to 9 out of the 10 hallmarks, and they understand them in their own way, which whether it's as an agnostic or a secular humanist or whatever. I have no argument with that, but it strikes me that what we've lost when we don't have the founding community ubiquitous on the campus is faculty to faculty. It's very difficult to bring somebody along with love of Christ, and that's the transformative moment. And we are religiously diverse, and we want to keep religiously diverse. I think it's a very difficult nut to crack, and I think it's very difficult for a faculty member, and our load is 4-4, to do that, to do your scholarship, to do the service that tenured faculty needs to do, to keep the university running, and then add development for mission. It's just a practical problem.
Whereas when there were many monastics in the campus, it kind of just happened by osmosis. But so now, if you want to be a Catholic in Benedictine University, it's going to require lots of work. And if you're going to commit to it, it's going to take something on everyone's part to make that happen. That's why they have conferences like this, to energize folks to go home and say, how are we doing?
I liked your idea of focusing on a value a year. And so as Pope Francis did the Year of Mercy, it can be that a school can choose from the values that maybe begin with the core values of the institution and then go to the other values in the rule. So a year on stability, and then what stability means, and asking faculty to try and incorporate this into their curriculum for that year. And I know some of the majors will say, well, that's easy for you, you're in religious studies. But that I'm astounded by what our nursing faculty do with the Benedictine tradition. And it can come into the business, it can come into criminal justice. They may need some guidance on how to do it. But I think asking us to really focus on a value a year would be valuable.
I'm just going to comment and say that, at the beginning of a semester or the beginning of a school year, I would suspect that your institution has a grand faculty day. Okay? And I would think it is the role of the president to have one portion of that meeting be, this is what we're saying. What do we need to focus on? How are we going to do this? We plan all kinds of other things that we need to be involved in, so I think that needs to be part of it as well.
And I would actually say we have an end of the year faculty meeting. I'd like to have that in May, and then again in August, so that as I'm preparing my syllabi.
Whatever works best at your place. Mm-hmm. But the point is, it needs to be prepared for and be planned for so that it can happen. And yes?
I'm interested in what you know from your own experience or other institutions of how you involve the sponsoring community. You talked about having one foot in the tradition. There's something about having exposure and interaction with members of the community. And we're just wondering what kind of ideas and activities are floating around that people have done.
At Benedictine University, I'm a trustee. I taught there once upon a time, briefly while I was doing many other things. And there are some monks that are on the Mission Integration Committee of the board, and a couple of them are also trustees. And one or another teaches at the university, and one of our sisters teaches at the university. I have found myself specifically involved in this when we were commissioned to put together a new mission and vision statement. And all of a sudden, it was like a whole new job for me. And what are some of the others?
I have an idea that I'd like implemented that we haven't yet implemented, but I know that a lot of the elderly monks and sisters can't take on a full-time commitment to do something. But I wondered about the possibility of somebody coordinating what I would call coffee with a department. So, monk A or sister A would be asked, would you be willing to have a half-hour coffee break with the president's office, with the housing, and spend some time just talking, getting to know. A lot of people don't even meet a monk or a sister. And so it's really something I'd like to see implemented here. We haven't done it yet. But I just think it's a way to involve people without a full.
You have to plan it and prepare it. You may have all kinds of ideas, but those have to be put into place. Yes?
I like your idea because Mount Marty College, they have game night with the sisters for the students. And then they also have prayer partners, and the prayer partners can be faculty and staff as well. But we don't get game night with the sisters, and so I love your idea of just the coffee with the department.
Other different feedback or questions, different topics?
Yeah, I'm thinking of situations in which administrators don't always embody these principles in their decisions about faculty various ways. Recently at our schools, the non-voting faculty member of the boards from St. Ben's and St. John's, the non-voting student member of the boards of St. Ben's and St. John's were removed against the will of the faculty and the students. And it was quite an argument on campus, and I think it was coming mostly from the boards, who tend to be business people, by and large, committed to benefiting education, but thinking, I think faculty often gets this perception, that pesky detail we have to deal with to run a university. So, to me, that's the antithesis of the charism that's embedded in our mission and our values. And I'm always willing to get myself in trouble, so I'm just saying it. What does the community do? The faculty, the monastics, the students?
Do they know about it?
They do. Yeah, it's been flying about.
Well, I'm just going to make a comment. I don't know your situation, but I would think that if you're in a position to be hiring a new president or deans or whatever, that a focus on mission has to be one of the criteria.
Well, I think our presidents are devoted to the mission, but I understand they also need to be in the position between the boards and the faculty, between the boards and the students, even between the boards and the mission.
And I'm going to say something else about the board. The board is, yes, very good lay people, generally, business people. But I would say that one of the weaknesses of the board that I'm on is, and it's been growing over years and years and years, and slowly now something is being done, is a solid board orientation to mission. That doesn't happen overnight either, because they're busy people, and they don't have all kinds of time to be going to all kinds of workshops. But see, we give them all kinds of stuff that they have to prepare for, for a board meeting. What about the mission? Okay, and so that's my only comment about that.
And I think coming from the perspective of someone who has been very successful in business, I'm trying to put myself in the position of a board member. One can be affiliated with Benedictines, but running a business and making money
It's different.
Now, giving some of that money to a college, a Benedictine college, and sitting on the board does respect and act in the faith of that. But I think that the mindset of people who are successful in business.
I think our orientation processes need to be developed regarding board members. That's my opinion.
And we need to have that chapter in the rule that you ask the youngest, because they see things that the older.
I had one board member say to me, he said, well, that's your job as the chair of the Mission Integration Committee. I said, no, it's all of our job. And we all have to know what that mission entails.
want to go back to that original, sort of, the first question about deficiency in the charism. It's such an intriguing way. You separated, I think, charism and mission.
I think charism is over it.
The mission expresses the charism. The charism supersedes or precedes the mission. But it seems to me that charism is something, especially now when we use the word deficiency with it, that is charism something to be owned or something to aspire to? Because if the issue is, I have the charism or I don't, I can support the mission and be imperfect. I mean, the idea of, I don't know a deficiency of charism other than somebody who blatantly says, I hate this place, I hate the mission, I will actively not support it, which would be almost nobody. But to suggest, I suspect you did not mean a perfect state, because if that's the criterion, then none of us are going to be. So what does...
See, I don't think we can walk, I can't walk out the door and say, I have the charism. And I've been a member of my community for 57 years. I am open to that gift of the Spirit in my life. And hopefully it is leading me in the direction of community life, seeking God in community according to the rule of St. Benedict. I cannot say, on this date, at this time, I grabbed the charism. Okay? I think it requires an openness and a responsiveness, and not just open at one. Certainly didn't happen to me on my monastic profession day, but I'm slowly, over 57 years, growing in that giftedness of the Spirit, and hopefully by the time I die, I can say, well, or the God will say to me, well done, good and faithful servant. Okay, so that's why you can't go out and buy it.
Well, that's why I was...
It's an openness to it. And the question to those of you who aspire to work in a Catholic and Benedictine university, are you open to it? Are you open to be changed and transformed by that gift?
That's why I was going for that. That's why I thought the term deficiency, the phrase deficiency of charism, is intriguing, because at any given moment...
Benedict didn't go out looking for a charism. It got him. Yes.
You know, John, part of it is our imperfections are deep and profound and habitual, but so are the imperfections of our institutions. And you know, very few new hires or people who've been there a long time are really receptive. This is what we should be doing because it's a gift. Trust me, I'm giving you a gift, right? But I do think our institutions are better insofar as we think of the charism more as something that, insofar as we pull together, we remedy some of the imperfections of the community. Because my individual talents are limited and they're different than other people. So, you know, you St. Paul's idea that we have these different gifts, but the collective gift is that Benedictine charism, which is going to work better as a community than it is if it's the responsibility of her, and that's the responsibility of them. I think you know, because I've lived on the side of, as a senior administrator on a faculty, it's a really, it's an odd place to be for the rest of your life because they're both wrong, and they're both right, but there's very little translation in between, which really is the role of the president more than anyone else to try to translate, but the distrust tends to get exaggerated. It's always my best intentions against your worst motives. Administrator versus faculty versus trustee, it always breaks down to that. And the mission does get weaponized, John, you're right. But, so I think the charism is a way to bridge that gap, insofar as we recognize at the end of the day we're in an imperfect community. It's to be a better community than if we hunker down and look at it as an individual entitlement.
Okay, so on Sunday, Pentecost, pray for the gift of the Benedictine charism, that it can take over your mind and heart and pervade your university or college. Thank you very much. Let me fall off of this step.
You stay here for a minute.
Okay.
I can look you right in the eye here. I like this. Are we not lucky to have Sister Judith Ann Heble here? We are so lucky to have her here. Thank you, Sister. Sister, we didn't hear about Western Kansas, but that's next time.
Well, Dorothy and I were classmates in different schools together. But what I really would like to talk about is the CIB, but that's another conference some other time, the International Conference of Benedictine Women.
Next time.
Next time.
We have a lovely day ahead of us. My job is to remind you at 11:30, we have Eucharist at St. John's Abbey Church, and then lunch at noon in the Monastery Refectory. So we'll see you all there. One more time?
University.
Okay, there you go.
The Great Hall.
All right, very good. See you guys. Well done, sister. Well done.